Hello there everybody, welcome back to my channel. I do hope you're having a good day and welcome back to another video. So today we are going to be ticking off another first for the channel and taking a look at my first ever JC Wings model. Now it is this gorgeous Embraer E195 of FlyBe in the Welcome to Yorkshire colours. I'm super excited for this one, so without any further ado, let's get right on into it. So then, I can actually remember seeing this aircraft in real life down at Southampton Airport when I was a child, and it really does just have such presence. Of course, it's one of the biggest aircraft, if not the biggest, that FlyBe ever flew, and in this Yorkshire livery as well, it is just really distinctive. Now, the purple colour is really very unusual. I know it can divide opinions at times, but actually I think it's really nice. Obviously, I've grown up in the south of England with Southampton as my local airport. And as a result, I have spent an awful lot of time sort of around these aircraft. I've flown not necessarily on the E-jets, but on the Dash 8s quite a few times during my childhood, going to various places like Newcastle. And so yeah, I absolutely love FlyBe, and as you'll have seen by the most recent Will Scarlet International update, if you saw that, I have of course now brought them back into existence for Will Scarlet International, which is my model airport if you don't know. So without any further ado, let's take a look at the box. We'll move the model out of the way for now. So JC Wings, a little bit like Phoenix and NG models, tend to make a little bit more of an effort with the designs of their boxes. Yet this is much more than just the generic Gemini Jets box, which of course has its benefits, but at the end of the day it's nice to have a bit more of a representation of the airline on the box. So at the front we have literally just this front half of the aircraft CGI image. That's nice. It's an awful lot bigger than the vast majority of manufacturers put on the front, and it means that you can really see some of the details that you wouldn't necessarily be able to see on the sort of, you know, on the smaller CGI image, so that's pretty good. We've of course got the FlyBe logo and the aircraft type there. Yeah, Embraer E195, that all looks good. Apart from that, it's a pretty plain box. We've got the logo on the top, the aircraft type there, and of course the sort of full CGI image on the bottom with the barcode and that sort of thing. And on the back we have a little bit of information about the model. This is another feature that I do like about JC Wings, and that also I do like about Gemini Jets, because they also do provide some information, but of course Gemini Jets is in the flap. So yeah, that's all good. Take a little bit of a look at that if you're interested in some of the statistics. And inside, obviously the model isn't in here, but just going to open it quickly. We've got the normal plastic ice block packaging there, and yeah, and that all looks good. And there's also, I believe, a piece of sort of plastic sheeting in there just to protect the antennas of the model during transit. So yeah, that's the box, nice and simple from JC Wings, but really the model is the main event. So let's put the box to one side and take a look at this aircraft. So then, let's make a start looking at the model. Now, it's actually interesting. I've actually been really struggling to sort of expose this aircraft correctly on camera for you guys. You might notice that the purple of the fuselage especially actually looks really quite dark. Now, I can assure you that that isn't the case in real life, but I think it's just something to do with the way that the light and the camera works. And the focus of my camera, that it does look slightly darker than it is in real life. But let's take a little bit of a look at some of the details of this model then. So starting at sort of a quick front to back, we do of course have the cockpit. That all looks good there, and a pretty sort of good accurate representation of what the front of the Embraer looks like. We've then got the L1 door there with the I can see some sort of red pull handle detail, presumably to open the door there. And of course all sorts of detail below that. It looks as though we've got some sort of ports there under the FlyBe, and some other details there at the bottom. I'm not terribly familiar with the Embraers in real life, so I'm afraid I can't provide too much insight on what they are, but please do let me know if you do know. Behind that we have the FlyBe logo, of course picked out in white. Now obviously in the normal white FlyBe colour scheme it would be picked out in colours in the colours as it is on the back of the tail, but no, on the purple we just have it in the white livery. And then behind that, as we sort of get to over the wings, we can make a start looking at this Yorkshire livery. So it appears as though it is made up of sort of the bicycle logo there and the letter Y. which has basically just sort of been randomized and changed the color and sort of spread around sort of the midsection of the fuselage. And I really think it is an incredibly effective livery, this. It just is a really good way of elevating what would, what would sort of otherwise be quite a plain model if it was just left in purple. But yeah, so kudos for FlyBe for this livery, I really do like it. Just behind that we've got the welcome to Yorkshire there. Yeah, that all looks good. And the registration number just in front of the L2, is it the L2 or the L3? The L2 door there at the back of the aircraft. That all looks good. Let's take a little bit of a look at the wings. Now this is an area I'm also very impressed with JC Wings. Not only do we have the sort of no step markings outlined, and even I think that's possibly a separate colour. It's not terribly clear, but I believe that is. I think it's just sort of quite a sort of, a small difference between the two colours. We also have, if you take a look, we've also got a couple of red dots there on the surface of the wings. Presumably they're either maintenance ports or fuel tank sort of, import holes or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, that looks really good, and that's a really nice quality feature. We've also got the emergency ramp slide sort of guides there, I suppose you could say. Of course, they would go down the back of the wings, sort of so that you land sort of behind the landing gear. Speaking of the landing gear then and the engines, let's take a look at the engines. So they're fairly plain. We've got the faster than road or rail thing there. That looks okay. Possibly the end of that graphic is slightly cut off. Now it is just important to stress how small these engines are in real life. They do look a little bit bigger on camera, but obviously this entire model is barely the length of a finger, so it is quite impressive to see the level of detail that we've got here. I can see we've just got that little small fin there on the outside of the cowling. Not entirely sure what that is actually for. I know that the A320neo has those on the inside. Yeah, and this engine has it on the inside and the outside. In terms of interior detail, we do have a small amount of interior detail. You might just be able to see it in there. It's actually a little bit clearer on the number 2 engine. Sorry, just trying to get the camera to focus there. Yeah, that's not terribly clear, but to the naked eye, I can see some interior fan detail. And yeah, that looks really good. Just a small point about the winglets. They aren't just picked out in the purple. We do also have some small yellow and red bandings going up the back edge of the winglet there. That does look really good. I'll show it to you on the inside of the right wing there. That's just another way of sort of showing a little bit more detail on JC Wings' part. I think they could probably quite easily have left that off, but I'm really glad to see that. So the back of the model then, we have got the sort of transition from purple to white with the yellow, the red, and then finally the white tail, and of course the colourful FlyBe livery there. Yeah, that all looks really good. This really is an amazing model, this. And yeah, the sort of rear stabilizers there, that all looks good. We've got a little bit more detail on sort of the top of the elevators and the APU port. I made that mistake in my last video. It's not the APU port, it's the APU exhaust valve, sorry. So yeah, that's good. And that is actually quite a big piece on this Embraer. It sort of goes from the back of the tail right to the end of the model there. So yeah, that all looks good. In terms of other separately fitted pieces then, we have got some antenna on here. Now I do think it's really interesting the way that JC Wings do some of their antenna. So as you can see, we've got 3 normal ones on the top of the model there, and we've also got 2 on the underneath. But unlike Gemini Jets, we actually have sort of quite an interesting line coming down the back of the model. Now, I'm not entirely sure whether that's prototypical. If I was to guess, it would appear as though this sort of is one piece with the tail, and it's sort of stuck through, possibly during assembly. I'm not entirely sure. Please do correct me if you know any different, and if that is, of course, a feature of the Embraer jets, then I will correct that. But I have a suspicion that JC Wings have possibly added this rib to make it look a little, to make that piece a little bit more sturdy. I'm not entirely sure, but we have quite a shaped antenna there on the rear of the aircraft. That looks really good. And as well as a white one there just underneath the FlyBe logo. In terms of other details, now the bottom of this aircraft is also really incredible. I mean, we've got the rear landing gear, that's all good. All of those wheels do roll, that's a really good quality feature, as I always say. And we've got all sorts of ports and detail under here. Really, really impressive, as well as the FlyBe logo. We've also got the registration number on the underside of the wing there, and that is Golf Foxtrot Bravo Echo Juliet. Yeah, that's all good. I am really impressed with the detail on this model. In general, it is a really good model. Onto the front set of landing gear then, I believe that does also roll. Possibly it could have had a little bit more detail when it comes to the wheels on the front. The rear ones are fine, but this one does look a little bit plasticky, I suppose, those tyres. It's not terribly realistic. But then from any reasonable distance, taking a look at this model, you really aren't going to notice. It really isn't a very big model. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think that really I've missed anything. I'm really impressed with this model from JC Wings, and I do actually have more than one of these Embraer jets. You'll have seen the other one as well in a Will Scarlet International update. Now, I am just going to be covering this purple one today, and I'll probably save the review of the E170 for another time. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I would also just like to say a huge thank you for 300 subscribers, which we hit on the day of filming. Yeah, nuts. I know we were celebrating 250, like less than a week ago. But yeah, it's just been crazy, the growth on the channel recently, so thank you so much. If you have been enjoying the content and you aren't currently subscribed, then please do consider subscribing. About 85% of you guys that watch my videos aren't currently subscribed, and I am aiming to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you are enjoying the content, then please do consider subscribing. But that's all I'm going to say for now. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope that you found this review useful, and as I say, if you are here in the UK, then this really is a must-have for the collection if you are looking at sort of something either as a keepsake for FlyBe or looking at operating them out of your airport. I really can recommend this JC Wings mould, and I would absolutely be happy to pick this up in any other liveries if JC Wings were to make another one. I did actually reach out to them on Instagram a while ago and asked if possibly they could do an E190 of Eastern Airways. That's quite a plain livery, but I really would be interested to see that for the UK collectors market, so we'll see if anything comes of that. I doubt it will, but hey, you never know. So that is going to be it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!